More details are emerging on the deadly mass shooting at a Buffalo supermarket. Officials say the 18-year-old alleged shooter revealed his plans in an online chat room on the app Discord, less than an hour before carrying out that attack. Authorities are learning multiple users attended that chat room, but no one alerted law enforcement. The suspect shot 13 people on what authorities are saying was a racially motivated attack, 11 of which were African-American people, and 10 were killed. Joining me now is Michael Haggard, a crime and security expert and one of the leading attorneys in litigation after the Parkland school mass shooting. Michael, let me just start by talking about what happened in Buffalo and what are we learning about the suspect and what law enforcement knew about him. Are there things that were just simply missed?
Well, we had similar situations with Nicholas Cruz in the Parkland case where there were threats made specific to shooting up a school prior to. The FBI had that tip and did nothing with it. Here we see with the shooter in Buffalo that not only did he post online his manifesto, but that he had that law enforcement, particular agencies were aware of threats he had made towards the school. Also, he was actually admitted for a day and a half a year before to a mental health facility. So there were definitely red flags that were going on. And a lot of times, people aren't communicating properly and there isn't the follow-up. And maybe most importantly, there isn't the laws to follow up with these individuals who end up being our mass shooters in this country.
About just this whole situation, I mean, it just seems to me maybe somebody could have reported it. Of course, that would require individuals acting and seeing that chat and maybe pressing a button or forwarding the information. But what do you think, what could have been done to prevent this shooting there in Buffalo?
Well, mass shooting is the epidemic of our country. Gun violence is the epidemic of our country. We lead the world, and it's not even close with regard to gun violence, deaths, and now mass shootings. I mean, they are commonplace every single day. And we need the tools to fight them. New York is one of the better states, and people will point to that and say, well, see, they couldn't even stop at New York. But our red flag laws don't go far enough. I mean, when you have an individual living on this edge of outside of society who, like you said, is having chat rooms, is talking about how he's going to get around the laws and change his weapon. We need the resources. The ATF needs to be funded better. The CDC needs to study this epidemic, which they're not allowed to do under federal law, so that we can understand these individuals and try to stop it ahead of time and really encourage society that they've got to be part of this and reporting these type of individuals. We can go back to Columbine and the signs that were missed there. We can look at Pulse in Orlando, which was another hate crime that could have been prevented if society and most importantly, the law arms our agencies with the tools to assist in preventing these terrible incidents.
As a lawyer who was involved in lawsuits after the Parkland shooting, what kind of lawsuits do you see coming out of this? Who will people try to hold accountable?
Well, and it's still early. I mean, unfortunately, obviously, the supermarket did have some notice that he was acting very strange the day before and those types of things. So that would be something that naturally the premise owner. But they're in such a horrible position as well. I mean, they have an armed security guard who's a former law enforcement professional who did all he could on that day. It was too late. And then you have a mass shooter armed not only with an automatic weapon, but with armed gear that he could withstand being shot by revolvers. I mean, one thing that our society needs to understand is that the mass shooters are better armed than our police most of the time. They're more prepared. They've got bulletproof vests, they've got AR-15s or AK-47s, and security and police respond with revolvers. So I think that one issue that I think has to be looked at is the hate speech that's going around. And obviously there's been a lot of reports obviously about Fox News and Tucker Carlson putting out this hate motivator. And there's no question that this assailant was motivated by this. There is no issue with that. And I think that has to be looked at. It has to be looked at in this lawsuit. And maybe more importantly, it has to be looked at from a communication standpoint by Congress and what we're truly going to allow people to put out there, because we know it motivates these people who are on the edge of society. But there are enough of them that we keep seeing mass shootings motivated by hate every single day. And we've got to do something about it, or it's never going to stop.
Attorney Michael Haggard, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your take.
Thank you for having me.